Now, as we say, what they didn't do was almost just as important. They did not pass the Save America Act. That's something that a lot of conservatives said we have to get passed before the August recess. In fact, they are going on recess here. They're going to have these brief pro forma sessions over the next 5 weeks. In fact, the next legislative session in the Senate is going to be September 15th. They didn't have the votes to pass a budget resolution that would allow them to deal with some election integrity issues. President Trump put out a tweet on Truth Social last night saying that, he was very concerned about trying to get this done, wanted them to stay in session in August to say, hey, this is important, stay in session, get it done. There was some internecine fighting between Republicans about passing that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So Senator John Thune has done something that a lot of us been anticipating over the past couple of weeks, where he literally fled Washington for vacation without passing the Save America Act. And a lot of folks are upset because he failed to pass that legislation that will require voter ID and to show proof of citizenship. And now a lot of folks are calling for Senator John Thune to be fired or to be replaced as a Senate leader in the Senate, leading Republicans. We also have Ilhan Omar and Kamala Harris weighing in on the Save America Act, but they actually made the point as to why we need the Save America Act. But before we take a look at those, let us take a look at exactly what happened in Washington regarding not passing the Save America Act. Watch this clip of the Senate going into recess without passing that bill. Watch this.
And if there's no further business to come before the Senate, I ask it stand adjourned under the previous order.
The Senate stands adjourned till 10 a.m. on Monday.
That was John Thune sending the Senate into recess in the middle of the night while Americans were sleeping. And the last time the Senate went into recess, John Thune did the same thing while people were sleeping. And here we have Mike Lee, who's been fighting to keep the Senate in session and to pass the Save America Act on exactly what happened. Watch this.
Okay, so it's about 5 a.m. and we just wrapped up in the Senate. Long night of voting. And tragically, the Save America vote on the voter ID component failed. Not a single Democrat joined us. We're going to have to keep fighting on that one. We're not done. We're just getting started. We had the voice vote on adjourning, and it failed. They outvoted us. That was the first time, as far as I'm aware, in decades when any vote has been held on any significant recess or adjournment. And I hope to have more of those in the future. I don't know what else to say other than thanks to all of those who encouraged us to keep going, to keep fighting. We did our best. Left no stone unturned. I wish the outcome had been different, both as to adjournment and as to these votes. But this fight's not over.
That was Senator Mike Lee, the Republican senator from Utah, who's been fighting tooth and nail to pass the Save America Act. And he's making it clear that this fight is not over, even though we wanted the Save America Act to be passed as soon as possible, especially before the recess, because the midterms, they're in November, and we don't know what's going to happen in terms of who's going to control the House, who's going to control the Senate. And John Thune thought it was a good idea to leave Washington without trying to pass the Save America Act or even keep senators around for an additional week or two in session to try to pass that bill. And a lot of folks are upset. A lot of folks are now calling for John Thune to be fired. And here we have a video of President Trump where he was asked, would he support another term for Senator John Thune as a leader? Watch this.
You want Thune to serve another term as leader? Would you support him?
Well, I don't want to get into that necessarily, but
why?
I'll tell
a lot of people are thinking about it. This is a big issue.
I get along with him. It's unfortunate that he doesn't have the vote.
But do you actually get along with him?
I do.
But you clearly disagree. I mean, you have big disagreements.
I do have disagreements. I believe strongly in terminating the filibuster. And by the way, getting Save America Act approved immediately and about 400 other things in every hour of every day. Boom, boom, boom. You get whatever you want. You get
Me personally, and I think a lot of Americans would agree as well, that President Trump should essentially communicate with some MAGA Republicans, because I think it only takes 5 senators in the Senate from the Republican side to initiate a motion to replace John Thune as a current leader, because a lot of folks, they're upset with John Thune right now because John Thune had a lot of time to get the Save America Act passed. And for months, he's been giving excuses after excuses. Oh, we don't have the votes. Oh, we cannot nuke the filibuster. And a whole bunch of other excuses. And now he fled Washington without actually passing the bill. And the question is, why is he still the leader? But now let us move on to Kamala Harris, because she had something to say in regards to the Save America Act. Watch this.
This president is trying to push this SAVE Act, which basically would require that for people to register to vote, you're going to have proof of who you are through a passport, which a lot of Americans don't have, or a birth certificate. Same point.
Yeah, kind of like when you go to the salad bar at Olive Garden. You're going to have to provide some ID. It seems like a pretty rational thing. But, you know, again...
Do you have to show your ID at the salad bar?
Yeah, apparently. Remember the story a couple of weeks ago that apparently you have to now show your ID at the Olive Garden salad bar.
According to Kamala Harris, especially in this clip, I guess it's bad for you to provide some documentation for you to prove you are who you say you are. It just doesn't make sense to me, the mindset behind these Democrats. Or maybe it's just Kamala Harris, because we know she's not the brightest tool in the shed. And the Democrats, what they want you to do, they want you to show an ID in order to shovel snow in New York City. They want you to show an ID if you're going to go to these communist, socialist grocery stores. They want you to show an ID in order to get into the DNC, but not an ID in order to vote. It just doesn't make sense to me. And Kamala Harris, she's not the only one, because here we have Ilhan Omar talking about the Save America Act. Oh, the Save America Act is bad. Take a look at what she's saying.
The president's #1 priority, which is the SAVE Act. We believe that is a piece of legislation that is going to disenfranchise so many people from their ability to vote. And we do have, fortunately, partners in the Senate that are bipartisan, that are advocating for the bill not being passed.
That was Ilhan Omar saying that the Save America Act will disenfranchise voters, but that is completely false, because the only people that the Save America Act will affect in terms of when it comes to voting are illegal immigrants or non-citizens, because we know in a lot of these states, we're talking about New Jersey, we're talking about California, Pennsylvania, New York. In all these states, you have non-citizens that are registered to vote. You have people that are voting that's not supposed to be voting. And that is the reason why we need the Save America Act, to get rid of all these individuals on these voter rolls, clean up the voter rolls. And then in order to vote, you have to present an identification, just as if you were going through the airports. Because just imagine if the country would get up one day, or in today's day and age, and said, hey, you know what? You don't need an ID or a passport or anything like that to travel. How outraged do you think the Democrats would be? But now it's completely okay for you to go on vote without providing an identification. And that brings us to the end of this video. Please let me know what you think regarding John Thune fleeing Washington for a 37 days vacation. Also, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you.